What's going on?
Welcome.
This is so weird. You're not. Don't adjust your sets, guys. Welcome back to the Geeks and Company. My name is Geoff, aka Messiah Complex Cosplay. This person sitting right beside me is that Valkyrie girl. We know her around here as editor Megan. We're actually in the same location. This is the after show. We are on a rewatch of The Legend of Vox Machina, and yes, we are actually together. We live in completely different cities. I came to her for a costume thing that she's making me that we'll talk about in some of our other stuff. Today, we're here to talk about The Legend of Vox Machina. If this is the first time you are joining us, we are on a rewatch of the show. We don't know anything about Critical Role. We haven't watched any of the campaign through any other means. We have watched this show in its entirety once already. And let's get the obligatory out of the way. This is a very small operation, as you can see. So if you can go ahead and throw us a subscribe down below, you're going to be helping out some very busy, free time working, on their own dime people a lot. We just watched the episode together, which we also have never done before.
Which we haven't been doing. So it's been...
We did get to kind of have a little bit of our own running commentary while we were watching the episode.
Just a little bit. Tried to keep it to a minimal.
We probably should have done some of that live while we were watching it. Maybe we'll try to do that at some point in the near future. This episode, though, we are in the thick, and I mean the thick, of the Whitestone plot line right now. We are right in the middle of it. In fact, we start with a flashback of Percy and his sister,
Cassandra,
getting a lesson on residuum, which, again, yes, without any specific spoilers, it's a good thing to remember for a couple of seasons from now. Residuum is going to come up again.
Pop that in the noggin.
It is the Professor Anders that's teaching a younger. They're not quite children at this point. They look like they're sort of like
teenagers, high school age.
Yeah. About Whitestone's chief, I guess, exporting product. Is this residuum type thing?
Mineral export.
Yeah, and it seems to be some sort of an empowering mineral that when you touch it to
creates
things,
the light.
The professor in this case seems like kind of a dick.
Yep, that's accurate. They definitely picked a silhouette for the villains that were in Whitestone to start with, and just.
Yeah, what did you call it?
Oh, yeah, they decided that any of the villains that were in the household already just had no neck.
Yeah. He's basically like...
triangle head into shoulder.
He's shaped like a toad. Just with really long lower limbs, that's all. That's basically how they shaped this dude, this Professor Anders. Not only that, but we do get to meet Percy's parents, and I think this is the first time we actually see any lengthy scene with Percy's parents in them.
Yeah, everything else has just been flashback, immediate horror of them being murdered.
They're kind of, sort of dicks too. I mean, not kind of like to the same level as the professor, but they're not nice people. Like they seem very
snooty. Like,
know your place. Professor Anders has this plan for mining this residuum and increasing the profits in 3 times, and the Derolo is basically like,
nah,
know your role. This ain't it. We got this. It's fine. Yep. So this is all sort of putting the building blocks as to why these particular staff members, I guess, ended up turning on the Derolos, which we're going to get more information about a little bit later on. But what's established, I think, in this opening scene is clearly the professor, even before all this kind of happened, had zero respect for the kids or the adults.
He hated everyone.
Yeah. He's there because he's being paid to be there. He even says to the kids, like, you're entitled brats, and he's not kind to his words about the Derolos and such.
Not even a little bit.
We then go to the present day. The Resistance is on the run. They stop at the Sun Tree, at least Keyleth does, and she's looking up at all the poor family that got hung there. Yeah. And she still seems to be kind of focused on the Sun Tree, which is going to come back around a little bit.
Yes.
Later
it does.
In this episode. However, if you remember from the last episode, when our boy Percy caught up with Stonefell, is the gentleman that was written on his gun that he killed in the last episode, quite brutally, I might add, while wearing the mask and all that.
Yeah, all of his drama.
All his drama. Vax essentially calls him out on it initially because right after he killed Stonefell, he turned the pepper box, which I guess is maybe the first episode where they call it that.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
He turns the gun on Vax and nearly shoots him before realizing who he is. And Vax is like, hey man, not cool.
Not cool.
No. Vax is a little abrupt about it, and Percy immediately gets his back up. Vex, on the other hand, is a little more subtle and begins to wiggle the truth. At least as much of the truth as Percy is willing to share with us at this juncture as to what happens. So we do get more of Percy's backstory. We do see, in particular, we see the hard times that he falls on after, the overthrow, I guess you'd say, of the Durolos by the Briarwoods. He goes on the run. He has to steal and eat moldy food.
Yep.
And in a dream, apparently.
It came to him in a dream.
That's correct. The design for the pepper box, for the gun that he carries throughout the series, comes to him in this dream, and he jaws it with a bit of rock on the street, and then he just
suddenly is in a workshop with all of the materials and technical ability to make it for some reason, because even though he was sleeping on the street and eating thrown out food, he now has metal and wood and a
now he's
workshop.
All the resources that you would require to fashion a device that doesn't exist in the world before this particular moment.
Yes. As one would.
As one would. But we do at least get to see that progression of. Is the entire story of how that all comes to play told?
Not everything.
Without spoiling anything, a little bit of foreshadowing. There's more to learn. Is the omission of the truth really a lie? What he tells them is true. He just leaves a few key parts out. Speaking of Key, our girl Kiki, back in the basement with the resistance fighters, decides she's going to talk to the piece of the sun tree that's sticking out of the wall. And by talk to it, we mean lighting it on fire.
It didn't start with lighting it on fire.
No.
It started with her, touching the roots, and she could sort of see, I guess, the evil. She could see Delilah's magic that is, harmed it and killed it and made it that it can't grow anymore. And she wanted to give it sunlight, so she made a little ball of sunlight, and it started to grow a little leaf, but then it died off, so she made more sunlight.
Closer.
And then it was closer and too much sunlight, and it fired.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yep. In fact, right before she lights the tree on fire, Percy actually starts to explain we compared it to Arya from Game of Thrones.
Yes, his list.
His kill list. Now, it's clearly a revolver-style gun that he has. He's got 6 shots on it, and he lists 5 people specifically. Stonefell, who we know is already dead.
Yep.
Professor Anders. Yep. Both of the Briarwoods.
Yes.
And who's the 5th one?
Who is the 5th one? Why am I blanking so hard on this?
I don't know.
Oh, Ripley.
Ripley. Yes, he actually mentions Ripley by name, which I don't believe we've met in any form.
We have not met Anna Ripley yet,
right.
No.
Again, a little bit of foreshadowing. We're going to get
we will
all the Ripley you could ever want in later seasons as far as that goes.
More than you could ever
and
want.
As someone asked him, I think it's Scanlan, about the 6th barrel in the gun, they're interrupted. So we never actually find out who that's going to be. And in fact, it's Archie that finally gets through all the bickering and silliness. It's like, cut the shit, we need a plan. We know where Professor Anders is.
We do know where Anders is,
We can go get this mofo right now.
Right now.
Because we need to rescue Cassandra, who is apparently a hostage, which is what it looks like now. It isn't kind of the way they were hinting at it in the previous episode where they showed her.
No, when they showed her with the Briarwoods, that didn't seem like that's where they were going, but this is what they have been told now. She is a hostage, they need to try and get her out.
But first, they need a distraction. Scanlan starts to campaign for being able to do the distraction, to which he's immediately and summarily dismissed, mostly by Grog, but even by Vex. They're like, yeah, dude, you can't do this.
We need a real idea. What are you talking about?
In
He's
fact,
this is a real idea.
You said that I'm annoying. Let me be annoying, is exactly how he puts it. And so finally, after he pesters the entire group long enough, they're like, well, fine, fuck it, go do it. And then Scanlan immediately regrets it.
Just let me go do it, but I wanted fun.
Yeah. He has one of those fuck, what did I do? Yeah. But before we get too far into it, as Scanlan has to do something really quickly, we get the first iterants of something that is going to play a bigger role for our man Scanlan. My favorite part of the show overall.
We get the first episode,
Scanlan's hand
of the episode.
Yes. We do get some Scanlan's hand as he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. In fact, when he gets into the building, which he does, and he starts to roam about, he falls into the building right at the feet of the Duke, which is a new character that we just met that's voiced by Rory McCann, who was the Hound, while the Duke is dropping a dookie, basically.
On the loo.
He is on the throne, as you will, and they are not shy about
No, they're not.
Showing you what he's doing on the throne. So Scanlan runs away and starts opening all these doors, and he opens up a door with room full of guards, and what are they doing?
The guards are playing D&D. At least it seems like it.
100% playing some Dungeons and Dragons. There's a screen in front of one of them, there's dice rolling. Haha, very meta. Well done.
Yep.
Well done, guys. Well done. Scanlan had said before that he had this bag of tricks. He's got the bag he's got a couple of potions and a scroll in it. So he takes the first potion, and he becomes, for all of my X-Men fans out there, Nightcrawler.
Just poof, poof, poof.
He can teleport everywhere, and he's teleporting his way. So by now, like, all the guards are in there with him, and this big blue Duke dude's chasing him with a giant sword that's pretty much bigger than him.
Sword way too big. That sword is overcompensating for something.
Does anyone know why the Duke is blue? Could anyone tell us?
Someone please inform us why he's blue.
Maybe
we have
know
no
why
idea.
he's blue. We've got no idea why he's blue, but blue he is. The teleporting potion fades. Scanlan drinks another potion, and then he's belching fire. And whatever blue Duke dude is...
He was small first, and then he was fire.
Was he small first?
He was small first, and then he was fire, yes.
Then he was fire. There you go. I don't think he does much when he's small, though, does he?
No, he just almost gets stepped on and then jumps onto a chandelier.
Yes.
And then is no longer small, so
that's... Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Very well. Thank you. He hits Blue Dude full in the face with a belch of fire that, by the way, lights everything and everyone else on fire, but does zero harm to Blue Dude. Even still has all his facial hair and such after this fire. And it's not like a little full, like he gets essentially like a blowtorch in the face for like a good 5 or 6 seconds. Zero ill effect. So I don't know what Blue Dude is, but whatever he is, he's apparently immune to fire.
It's okay. It's Home Alone rules, apparently.
It is apparently Home Alone rules. At least it burned Joe Pesci's hat. This dude didn't even have that. Like nothing. Yeah. Guards are on fire from the same fire that's belching from Scanlan's mouth, but this dude is like, no, I don't. If I catch on fire, fuck that. Scanlan accomplishes what he was looking to accomplish at the end of the day.
He has made a distraction.
He's down to his last trick, though. The guards are closing in. He's no longer belching fire. He can't teleport anymore. So he finally gets the scroll out.
Yeah, and he's like, I've read this so many times, and nothing's ever happened. But I've never sung it.
This, by the way, is one of the most Scanlan episodes you could possibly have. If you're a fan of your boy Scanlan like I am, this is your episode. I can tell how you can see based on the look on her face how much she loved this episode with all the Scanlan. He sings the scroll, and then...
He's a Triceratops.
He's a dinosaur.
He's a dinosaur.
I thought he was a Triceratops too, but he's only got 2 horns.
There's a nose one.
Oh, did he have a nose horn too? I thought he just had like the
horn.
beak. Anyways, he's very much resembles a Triceratops, and he's just like rampages through the whole place, getting speared and flames and guards flinging left, right, and center. And the Duke, still unharmed at this point, is chasing after him.
Yeah, he's like, perfect. Scanlan had just come out of a room that was filled with like the carcasses of creatures that the Duke has apparently hunted and stuffed. So he's like, I'm gonna go get another one. But then he stops being a Triceratops before he can be murdered.
Yes. At this point, by the way, the rest of Vox Machina, which Percy's been like literally like clicking his gut, like Percy's like OCD.
Yeah, he's like, gotta go.
He looks like a junkie waiting for his fix. He wants to go save his sister because they all assume, in fact, I think Vex says Percy's probably 3 deep in a Bravo by now.
Yeah, they figure, Scanlan. They figure that Scanlan is, yes.
Yes. And at that point, Vax looks out the window and went,
oh!
The little shit did it.
He actually managed it.
The building was on fire, and it was Scanlan's fault. So the group sees that, and then they decide to move on the main house now.
Yes.
Now they have this giant distraction. They actually see guards running away.
Yeah, they're like,
to go tend to where
it's empty, it's clear.
The building is on fire. They start to kind of fiddle with the lock because they're trying to be careful, and I think it's even Vax that says we're taking our time to get in because we're
it could be a trap.
Booby traps, and then decides
Grog has none of that.
Yeah.
He's just, I'm going in, and then as soon as he is in, he looks up and goes, oh,
yeah,
it was a trap.
It's a trap. Now Scanlan is back in the house. It's on fire. He's run out of options. He can't go downstairs anymore. He's not a Triceratops, so he goes up, and he turns out he's up on the roof.
He is on the roof.
It's raining outside. It's not really stopping the fires. Light drizzling. He has this kind of blue halo around him. The rain effect that they actually do here is kind of cool. It's an interesting way to show rain falling on somebody like that. I kind of like the way they did that.
Yeah.
But the Duke immediately discerns where he is. None of the other guards do, by the way, but the Duke comes up, and a fight ensues.
Yes, a fight that super didn't need to happen because we've already seen multiple times that Scanlan can fly on Scanlan's hand.
And in this case, he gets all the way to the edge of the roof, and then
goes,
before he falls
"Oh,
off,
shit."
and then he acts like, well, I have no means of escape. I guess I gotta fight this guy that's 8 times my size, and apparently invulnerable to harm, which we learn a little bit later on.
We super do.
He's not, but regardless, excuse me. Scanlan fights the Duke on the rooftop. He ends up flipping him the bird, first with his regular finger, and then
With Scanlan's hand!
it ends up being Scanlan's bird, essentially. As the Duke starts to go at him with his giant sword, he uses Scanlan's giant purple hand to sort of fend off and parry the sword blows.
Yep.
This only lasts so long before the Duke bests him and is standing over top of him with his foot on his tiny little face.
On his tiny little face, yes.
And Scanlan gets to be the whole, like, the sword is raised, he's about to kill him, and Scanlan goes, wait! And the villain miraculously waits. I don't know, plot armor reasons, I get why from a writing perspective, but
also
I mean,
he's like, it's the
he
tiny...
literally is just standing here like this, waiting to bring the hammer down, and Scanlan's like, no, let me say one more thing, dick lightning. So, Scanlan hits the Duke as he straddled over Scanlan with lightning that shoots directly up from his crotch and fries the Duke. And now finally we found something. Somehow Scanlan's dick lightning was the only thing that's hurt the Duke.
Apparently lightning is the... Yep, that did something.
Yep.
It worked.
The Duke gets fried, he falls off to the side, he's got burn marks on him, the smoke coming off him, and he's clearly out of the fight. At which point Scanlan remembers that he can just create this construct
and he can just
fly away on it. And so that's exactly what he does. Instead of it being the whole hand, though, it is the hand with the finger up again, and he just rides off in the finger. Granted,
until it sputters out.
seconds later, it sputters out and disappears, and Scanlan falls into the bushes. But if there's one place that Scanlan would like to be, it's in the bush. Percy begins chasing Anders as Percy does. So Percy gets overwhelmed as Percy does with his thoughts of vengeance.
Yep.
We don't quite see the mask come out, but we do get that fanaticism from Percy that we're used to. He gets the pepper box out. Yep. He sees a glimpse of Anders. He goes chasing after him, bursts into the room, and Anders has Cassandra with him.
He sure does. She's there being held in front of him, and not even like properly in front of him though. Like she's in front of him like this.
Yeah.
And there's a whole target all over here.
Now,
but no shooting, just talking and freaking out.
To be fair, Percy has just sort of learned that his sister is in fact alive when he kind of thought he was already responsible for her death. Probably doesn't want to risk accidentally hitting her. I don't get the sense that he's an expert marksman with this gun yet, or really ever. However, in very much a, for my Watchmen fans out there, in very much an Ozymandias type move, Anders, I think Percy says something about like, let her go or stop holding her hostage, whatever it is. And Anders is like, oh, I'm not bluffing. I'm not holding her hostages. And just slits her throat right in front of Percy.
Yep.
And
she sure does.
Her throat just starts to bleed right out, makes all the exact choking sounds that you really want to hear in a situation like this. They do cut to Percy after a long, by the way, she falls away. Anders is just standing there.
Yep, and Percy's doing nothing except staring at his dying sister, which,
so,
like,
for a solid 8 to 10 seconds, though, we don't even see Percy, and then they finally pan over to Percy, and yes, he just has this horrified look on his face as he watches his sister die. And then we fade to black. So...
because where else would you finish that episode?
Thankfully, we've already seen, now again, no spoilers, we're not saying anything, but I mean, from Percy's perspective, I get it. He thought she was dead for all those years. He comes back, he finds out she's alive. He finally sees her in the flesh.
And
then it's curtains. And that's where this episode ends off, guys. Again, same thing. Same thing we kind of talked about last episode. Progress is being made on this storyline, right? I mean, we still only have one of them dead.
Yes, one of the 5 we know of that he's trying to kill.
Right, but at least we got some backstory on Fiend number 2 with Professor Anders, in this case. We do get to physically see a little bit more of Cassandra. We know that, well, she was alive. And we get some shenanigans from the group, although most of it was Scanlan. For this
most of it was
episode.
Scanlan, except for Grog after they burst into the house, him going berserker in the way that he should have in the prison. So
apparently, even without Pike, Grok can take literally 8 arrows to the chest and abdomen and just shrug them all off, and then fuck a whole bunch of guys up in full plate armor. With weapons
the reason that Percy was able to just run after Anders is because Grog took on every other guard that was inside the building
and made it look real easy. So anyway. It was still a banger of episode. I really liked this one. I, of course, liked it even more than this one did because it had a lot of our boys. A lot of our boys scaling. In fact, when he's going through the bag to find his last bag of tricks, he pulls out some anal beads, which is a recurring joke throughout the whole series. And it wasn't even like no. He was like, now is not the time. So
not right now.
Yeah. So I'm sure there will be more. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's after show. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this again more often. Like I said, don't expect this all the time. If you guys like this format, go ahead and tell us in the comment below. Let us know if you prefer us back to our separate places. Well, that's what's going to happen anyway, but let us know what your preference is. And we'll try to do this more often, absolutely. Otherwise, until next week, stay geeky, everyone.